So, good morning once again to everyone. I'm here to discuss principle of fair use and copyright issues on learning resources. I'm Ersan A. Resurrection, Senior High School Teacher 1 from the subject group STEM 3B. I became a member of the National Pool of Illustrators for Senior High School Self-Learning Modules by the DepEd Central Bureau of Learning Delivery. As an overview, we will define the concepts of copyright infringement in relation to plagiarism. So, ano nga ba yung pagkakapareho nila at ano yung pagkakaiba nila sa konteksto ng paggawa ng mga learning resources. And then, of course, we will discuss the 4 parameters of fair use that we have to really understand bago tayo gumawa ng mga modules, mga learning materials para sa ating mga students. So first, let's have a glimpse of the Philippine IPR Code in relation to copyright infringement and plagiarism. Republic Act No. 8293, otherwise known as the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines, was signed in 1998. Before this code was created, meron ng mga ibang mga batas na tumatalakay din sa iba't ibang uri ng intellectual property rights. So what they did is they repeal other laws and they combine them into one code, which is the IPR code. So aside from copyright and related rights, ito pa yung mga ibang nasasaklaw ng code na ito. So we have the trademarks and service marks, geographic indications, industrial designs, patents, layout designs, yung mga topographies, and other stuff related to protection of undisclosed information. But for this discussion, we will only be concerned of copyrights and other related issues. Okay. So we have here the RA number 10372, which is only an amendment of the RA 8293. So, meron siyang mga inamyendahang bahagi ng RA 8293. So, kilala natin siya as RA 10372, which was signed into law in 2012. Okay, so what's the definition of copyright? So, copyright is defined as the legal protection extended to the owner of the rights in an original work. So meaning, if I'm an author, I publish my work, so the term copyright is what protects me from being copied unfairly by other people. Okay? So, in terms of performance naman, halimbawa yung mga singers, movie, whatever, the moment that they perform, okay, meron na agad na nag-i-exist na copyright doon. So, whoever executed the performance, they own the copyright of the performance, of the act. Okay. Next is plagiarism. So, we always discuss this concept to our students, especially in subjects related to research. So we always tell them na not to commit plagiarism because it is an academic dishonesty. So essentially, plagiarism is claiming attribution of a work that is not your original. So you claim that it's yours, but it's not actually yours. Okay, same as you're not telling people na it's yours, but you forgot to cite or to attribute that work that it belongs to another person. So essentially nga, that also leads or contributes to plagiarism. Our next concept is infringement. So infringement is using someone else's copyrighted work without asking and obtaining their permission. So we're talking already here copyrighted work. Okay? So, anong pagkakaiba niya ngayon sa plagiarism? Essentially nga, pareho lang din naman siya na nanakaw, quote-unquote, ng gawa ng iba at you're claiming that it's yours. Okay? So, the difference between the two is, so ito, what is the difference between infringement and plagiarism? Okay, we already know that infringement means stealing the material or the tangible material, the copyrighted material from another person. Plagiarism, on the other hand, means stealing the idea. So what's the difference between the two? Infringement is a criminal violation, not just a violation, a criminal violation. Kasi both naman silang violation. Okay? And it has a legal sanction. Okay? Plagiarism, there is no sanction, but your reputation is compromised. So, kumbaga, parang ang pinaka-threshold natin, plagiarism, depending on the gravity of the act, pwede na siyang itaas into infringement, which is a criminal violation. Okay? So, basically, infringement is a construct of the law, while plagiarism is a construct of ethics. Okay? So, what are the infringing acts under RA 8293 or the IPR Code of the Philippines? So, we have three acts tantamount to infringement. Of course, number one is the direct commitment of infringement. So, you're an author, you intentionally copied someone else's work and without proper attribution, citation, whatsoever. Yun, that's an act of infringement. You know. And then, you just neglect. You neglected the fact that it is an act of infringement. Okay? Next is, you benefited from the act. You have been given notice, but you did not do anything. For example, you're a publisher, and then your writer, lumapit siya sa'yo, sabi ng writer mo, oh boss, ginaya ko lang yung gawa ko sa ganitong author, ganyan. And then, sabi mo, sige, yaman mo na siya. Hindi naman siguro yan aalma, or something like that. So, makakasama ka pa rin sa demanda if ever that the author decided to file a complaint against your writer's work. Okay? Next is, if ever you don't benefited from it, wala kang kinita or something, but you have knowledge about the act, you induce, you motivate, you cause, or worse, you materially contributed to the act, then you are still legally liable. Okay? So, ano yung mga parusa, the penalties? A fine of 50,000 to 1.5 million and or imprisonment of 1 to 9 years. Paano kung halimbawa, hindi mo naman sinasadya? Sabi nga, there is no crime if there is no criminal mind. So, hindi mo naman intensyon na kumopya or kopyahin or wala kang intensyon masama. It just so happen na puyat ka, pagod ka, may deadline, kailangan mo nang gawin. Hindi mo na naisip. So, you are in good faith and you're telling na hindi ko naman po pinagkakitaan yan. Talagang intention ko lang po talaga na to make my job done as soon as possible kasi nga stress ka na sa head mo kasi pinapagawa ka ng module, charot. Yun. Pwede naman siyang bababa. Not more than 10,000 pesos. Okay? So, basta ganun lang yung ang laging sabi nga sa mga DDS, yun ang script na you don't have any you did not do that in bad faith. Okay? You don't intend to copy it, etc., blah blah blah. So, yun. Okay. So, next is we will discuss the 4 factors of fair use. So, these are the 4 parameters that you have to remember when writing learning resources para makaiwas tayo sa mga legal implications or infringement issues sa ating mga ginagawang mga LRs. Okay? Okay, so in assessing fair use, the following must be considered. So we have 4. Number 1, the purpose and character. Number 2, nature of the copyrighted works. Number 3, amount and substantiality of the portion taken. And number 4, effect on potential market. Number 1, purpose and character. Okay. If the borrowed or copied word or idea is intended for commercial use, then it is not allowed. But if it is intended for educational use, then it is allowed. So, gaya nga natin, ito yung pinaka-safe natin na parameter as educators. We always use our materials for educational purposes. So, number 1, check na tayo agad dyan. So, wala tayong masyado magiging problema sa parameter number 1. However, we have to reiterate that if it is intended for educational purpose, yes, one is not violating infringement or plagiarism, but proper citation or attribution is still required. Hindi naman tayo basta copy-paste lang ng copy-paste. Okay? For example, there's a certain website who hired a photographer, okay, and the photographer was paid in return para do sa picture, and then this website posted that picture. So, question, you want to use that picture, could you use that photo, the same photo from the website? So, the answer is yes, if it's not for commercial use. So, check na tayo agad, hindi natin gagamitin for commercial use, for educational purposes. So, there will be no violation. Okay? However, the writer must still cite or make proper attribution to the copyright owner. So, sino nga yun yung pagpapaalaman niya? Si photographer o si website? So, depende pa rin yan sa usapan ni photographer or ni website. Halimbawa, kasama sa agreement ni photographer at ni website na kukomisyonin kita, yung babayad ko sa'yo, it will mean that you will forgo your copyright. So, mapupunta yung copyright kay website. So, si website ang susulatan mo. However, in most cases, sa mga ganyan, nananatili yung copyright kay photographer. Okay? Si website, siya yung nagmamay-ari ng they have the ownership, but the copyright still remains with the photographer. Pero depende nga yan sa usapan nila, sa kontrata nila. Pero yun nga, commonly, the copyright remains with the creator, the photographer in this case. Still under purpose and character, of course, character. Paano ba natin ipepresent yung ating mga kokopyahin o hihiraming mga ideas from another author? Of course, we tell our students na, you don't copy verbatimly from your reference, you have to paraphrase it, para hindi ka ma-accuse ng plagiarism or kailangan baguhin natin siya ng without, of course, changing the thoughts, yung presentation. So, you have to ask if the material you have taken was transformed. Yun. Paano natin siya ita-transform? By adding new expression of the meaning. Okay? Paano siya i-interpret? Okay? Para hindi siya pumasok dun sa acts of infringement. Okay? You also have to add value, okay, to the original. You create new information, new aesthetics, new insights, and understanding. Of course, alam na po natin lahat to. Sabi nga, I forgot if it's Joey De Leon ba o nagsabi nun, na copying is okay as long as mas naging maganda yung expression or yung interpretation mo kaysa sa original. Parang si Joey De Leon nga yung nagsabi nun, in light of the gayahan ng portion nila sa Itbulaga versus Wawawin pa before. Yun nga, so it's okay kumopya, basta siguraduhin natin na mas maganda yung magiging produkto natin kaysa doon sa pinagkopyahan natin, because we applied our own personality, our own way of expression, yan, at kung paano natin siya i-present. So, number 2 is the nature of the copyrighted works. So, this parameter is highly critical because this will test the skill of the teacher, us as the writer of the learning resources. It's important to have the skill on determining whether this is okay to use, this is not okay to use, and so on and so forth. So, in writing modules, we teachers as writers are the one who needs to ask permission if ever we want to use a third-party reference. Okay? Hindi si DepEd yung maghahanap or manghihingi ng permission to another author of, for example, of a book that we want to use. We are the one responsible. So, if we commit infringement, hindi naman madedemanda si DepEd. Kasi nga tayo yung nakatask to gather references. So, if ever medyo tama rin tayo ng konti at nag-copy-paste lang tayo without proper citation or attribution, so, tayo yung losing end. Tayo yung dehado dito. Okay. So, what are the materials that we can use safely at pwede natin sabihin na papasok ito sa fair use? Of course, first is the factual works. So, what are these factual works? These are the definition of certain terms that is scientific and technical by nature. So, the writer is allowed actually to copy the definition as it is written, verbatimly. Bakit? Kasi, wala na namang ibang definition ang cell, kundi yun lang, kung ano yung alam ng buong mundo. So, that is a technical definition. That is a scientific definition. So, you can copy it. Ano yung hindi po pwedeng kopyahin? For example, a publication discussed, in their books, discussed the solar system in a certain creative way. For example, nakalagay dun sa libro, solar system. Father Son has 8 children. Names: Mars, Mercury, Earth, Saturn, Jupiter, etc., etc., etc. So, pwede ba natin siyang kopyahin o hindi? Of course, hindi. Hindi natin siya pwedeng kopyahin. Bakit? Kasi may in-apply na creative expression which is copyrightable. Okay? Hindi siya basta-bastang pwedeng gamitin kahit saan without asking permission from the writer, from the author, or from the publishing company. But if you lift a definition, a scientific definition, or a technical definition, it's okay. Because that is a factual work. That is, pag fact, pwede nating, tama ba yung pronunciation ko? Pag fact, pwede nating kopyahin. Pag fiction, hindi natin basta-basta po pwedeng kopyahin. So, yun nga yung tinatawag natin na if you want to have the same creative expression as dun sa nabasa mong libro, you can use your own way to express your own creativeness to express that same thoughts or concept na nabasa mo sa libro na yon. Okay? Next, lahat po ng pumapasok, everything that enters public domains can be used. Yung pangalawa po, yung published works, duktong ko lang po yung unpublished. Mas safe, syempre, gamitin yung mga published works kesa sa mga unpublished works. Bakit? Kasi, ang unpublished works po, nasa kamay pa rin ni author. Kasi ang hirap naman po na halimbawa, unpublished nga yung works, tapos gusto mong i-publish. Nauna ka pang mag-publish kesa doon sa author. Parang, the decision whether to publish it or not still relies with the author. Kung ayaw niya ipapublish, so hindi mo siya po pwedeng gamitin. So, doon tayo sa published works lang po tayo doon lang tayo umiko, doon lang tayo kumuha ng mga materials na gagamitin natin. At madali siyang lagyan attribute kasi nga published na siya. So, meron na siyang publisher, meron na siyang date kung kailan pinublish, at alam mo kung sino yung author, so mas madali siyang gamitin versus unpublished. So, ano yung mga public domain? So, pag nag-internet, so search po tayo sa internet, di ba, nakikita natin na may mga pictures, mga articles na nakapublished online. So, pumapasok po sila sa public domain. Sabihin po, pwede natin silang gamitin. Na ang gagawin lang po natin ay may attribution. So, madali lang naman siyang gawin on our part since ang number 1 natin ay, ang purpose natin ay educational, so pwede natin siyang gamitin. We just have to attribute the work properly. Okay? Next is creative and cultural commons. So, same as public domains. Ito yung mga nakikita natin sa, alam mo, may mga pictures, di ba? Pag search tayo ng pictures sa Google. For example, picture of a student with blah, 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 blah. So, lalabas na yung mga pictures. We can choose kung anong klaseng pictures, kung gano'ng kalaki. And most of the time, nakikita natin, may mga pictures na may, what do you call this, the watermarks, yung parang mayroong mga white lines na medyo blurred at malabo. Kapag nakakita po tayo ng image na gano'n, wag po natin gagamitin yun. Kasi, the fact na meron siyang, the fact na meron siyang watermark, sabihin, copyrighted yun. Ayaw nilang basta-basta ipagamit siya na hindi kayo nagbabayad. Okay? Or hindi kayo magpapaalam sa amin. So, although it's in public domain, internet, we still have to check twice or thrice kung ano ba yung nature kung copyrighted ba siya, kung if ever nagagamit tayo ng mobile app, tapos for example yung Bitmoji gagamitin natin, check natin yung end user agreement, kung halimbawa nag-create tayo ng emoji dun sa app na yon, pwede ba natin siyang gamitin sa ibang materials. So, merong iba na nakalagay naman sa end user agreement na pwede siyang gamitin kasi yun mismo yung product nila, and then yung iba pwede mo gamitin, pero hindi mo siya pwedeng tanggalan ng watermark hanggat hindi ka nagbabayad. For example, yung Picolage. Okay? Alam natin it's free. But if you want to remove the watermark or the logo of Picolage, you have to pay, I think, 100 pesos para makapag-create ka ng materials mo na hindi kasama yung watermark ng Picolage. So, yun. Kailangan natin check po natin lagi yung ano yung mga conditions na involved dun sa mga materials na gusto natin gamitin. Okay, next is yung mga gawa na mga tao, author, philosopher, who died 50 years ago from the time of attribution. For example, ngayon, 2020, what is 50 years before? Yung author na namatay 50 years before, pwede mo nang gamitin yung work niya. But you just have to attribute saan mo kinuha yung gawa. For example, Jose Rizal. Dr. Jose Rizal, namatay na siyang napakatagal ng panahon, 100 years ago, plus years ago. You want to use an excerpt from his novel. For example, yung sinabi ni Padre Salvi dun sa tungkol sa kabataan. I don't know if that is Padre Salvi talaga. Na ang kabataan, nasaan ang kabataan, mag-aalay ng kanyang buhay, etc. etc. So, gusto natin gamitin yon. Pero hindi mo naman po pwedeng pagpapalaman si Rizal o hindi mo siya masusulatan. So, hindi na natin siya kailangan sulatan. You just have to attribute anong publication o sinong book or aling book ang nag-republish or naglabas ng statement na yun. Okay, so number 3. So, that is our number 3. Amount and substantiality. So, ang tanong, if we could copy someone else's work, what will be our limitation? So, the IPR code does not give a number kung hanggang saan lang yung amount na po pwede mong copyhin from other author's work. So, technically speaking, only the author of the work can determine the amount and substantiality. So, siya lang yung sasabi na etong ginawa mo, for example, the author is talking to you. At ginawa mo, that is very substantial. Ang dami mong kinopya from me. Kahit alam mo na 3 salita lang yung kinopya mo sa kanya, pero pag sinabi ni author, yung original author na kinopya mo to, meron na siyang basis to file a complaint. So, to be safe, we will be using the 5% rule. So, only 5% of the total amount. For example, you want to copy a book, or you want to use a book, 100-page book. You can only copy or borrow up until 5%. So, that is 5 pages of that book. So, yun lang yung po pwede nating gamitin. Okay, before, na-experience din ko rin yan personally when I want to photocopy a book in economics. And then, we're used to have it photocopied, the entire book, kasi medyo mas matipid siya. So, si ate na nagpo-photocopy, sinabihan kami, naku, hindi po pwedeng kopyahin yung buong libro. Isang chapter lang. So, that is 2004 and the IPR code is 1998. So, I think doon nila nakuha yung bigla ang pagbabago dun sa allowed lang na po pwedeng i-photocopy dun sa isang libro. So, I think more than 5% pa yata yun. Pero, yun nga, just to be safe, we will use the 5% rule. Yan. If you want to use a certain reference for your learning material or learning resources. Okay, so our last parameter is effect on potential market. So, the writer must refrain from lifting information from the books where there is competition. So, ano yung mga books na to? Ito yung mga books na ginagamit sa private schools. Okay, na pinaprovide ng mga publishing company. For example, in contemporary arts, there are a lot of books, di ba, that is intended for this learning area. But writers are not encouraged to get information from these books simply because they are copyrighted materials. Okay? So, and we see them as competitors. Kasi nga, kung halimbawa, kinopya mo yung si Bibal, nilagay mo sa iyong LR materials or learning resources material. So, pwedeng sabihin ni Bibal na maapektuhan yung aking negosyo dahil yung information or the way I presented my information in my book ay binigay mo na libre sa public. So, kung ako naman yung end user, yung student, hindi na ako bibili kay Bival ng book kasi same lang din naman yung nakikita ko sa binibigay ni DepEd. Okay? So, the publisher can state that their market will be affected by what you did. Okay? So, again, hindi si DepEd ang madidemanda, si author, tayo mga teacher ang madidemanda dito. Okay? So, bakit nga ba walang textbook si DepEd? Hindi naman dahil sa nagtitipid sila. Actually, yung mga libro na binibigay ni DepEd, si DepEd ang bumili niyan. Parang ang nag-develop niyan is a private company. So, there is a law that does not allow DepEd to develop textbooks. So, books should be bought from the publishing industries to provide market for the private publishing industries according to that law. I forgot kung ano yung law na yun. So, DepEd do not have the authority to develop their own resources, such as textbooks. So, in this sense, DepEd is paying the publisher, but it's not made clear that the agency is only paying for the book and not the copyright. So, kanino yung copyright? Nandun pa rin sa publishing company. Kung sino yung nag-develop. Only DepEd has the ownership. Kasi sila yung nag-reproduce. Sila yung nagbayad. Binili nila yung libro. So, sa DepEd, government property yun. So, we also have other learning materials na dine-develop naman ni DepEd. For example, yung mga teaching manuals. Ayan, si DepEd na nagde-develop niyan. Hired nila yung kung sino naman yung susulat. Nagko-commission sila. In terms of our modules, si DepEd yung first party, tayo yung second party as writers. At yung third party na references natin, tayo yung kumukuha nun. So, that is why we are responsible for making sure that we are within fair use. Kasi kung magdemandahan nga, hindi naman kasali si DepEd, tayo lang as writer yung liable dun sa kukuhanin nating third party. If ever na magreklamo sila or mag-file na complaint for infringement. Okay? Okay, so to wrap up my discussion, it's already past 30 minutes beyond my time limit. Sorry po. Points to ponder. Number 1, only copy within a fair use. So this one requires deliberative decision. So, kailangan maging critical tayo dito. Ano ulit yung mga parameters natin? Number 1, purpose and character of use. Number 2, nature of the copyrighted work. Number 3, the amount and substantiality of the portion taken. And number 4, the effect of the use upon the potential market. So, ito yung mga private publishing company. Next is avoid CCTO or credit to the owner. Nakikita natin madalas yan sa Facebook na CCTO or no copyright infringement intended. So, hindi enough yun. Hindi enough po na sabihin lang natin yung no copyright infringement intended whereas you are actually infringing. Kasi paano natin masasabi na hindi siya na-infringe? There is no proper attribution, hindi mo naman nasabi or yun nga, na-mention dun sa post mo, kanino galing yung post na yon, yung original author nun. And sa Facebook, napakahirap po nung hanapin. So, ayun, siguro sa terms and condition ng Facebook, obra yun. Pero, sa konteksto po ng Intellectual Property Code ay hindi po tama na mag-CCTO lang tayo or no copyright infringement intended. So, avoid po natin. Use proper attribution. You identify the author, saan pinublish, kailan pinublish, etc. Other information. Okay? Next, if you feel you are copying beyond fair use, mag-email ka po. Sulatan mo po yung owner o yung author and wait for a confirmation or confirmatory letter. Importante lang naman na aware sila at pumapayag sila na gamitin mo yung kanilang material. Okay? Next is, ito yung pinaka-safe. You create your original work. Okay? Especially sa mga illustration. Kung hindi mo talaga makontak yung author at alam mong mag-i-infringe ka, magkakaroon ka ng act of infringement, magpa-drawing ka na lang. Pwede naman po kasi yun, halimbawa, picture na ganito. Hindi mo re-reproduce yung actual picture, pero ipapakopya mo. Okay, na mayroong modification. Siguro, babaguhin yung kulay, babaguhin yung angulo, babaguhin yung ilang mga elemento. So, po pwede yun. Kung halimbawa, lalo na sa contemporary arts, painting na ganito, pwede na naman kasing kumuha sa mga government website. So, safe na siyang kuhanan. Kasi nga, government website siya, hindi siya hindi siya copyrightable. Okay? So, the safest way is to create your original work. Next is, the most unsafe source to copy are the competition. Sabi ko nga po yung mga publishing company, Bival, Phoenix, what else? Aviva, so marami pang iba. So, avoid using them kasi nga, ang target nila, private school. Tayo, public school tayo. So, na-explain ko na rin kanina bakit ayaw nila na, or hindi safe na kumopya sa kanila. Kasi nga, naapektuhan ang kanilang market. Next is, Google is only a platform. Hindi po siya hosting, or hindi siya website. It's only a hosting facility for images and information. Huwag na po sigurong makakakita tayo ng mga references sa end of the learning modules na nakalagay na google.com. So, we have to search deeper. We have to copy the entire URL. So, dun sa familiar sa APA citation, alam po natin kung paano mag-cite ng resources from internet. So, hindi po google.com ang ilalagay natin sa reference. And of course, there must be modifications. Sabi natin, kung kukopyahin natin, we have to give it a different way of presentation. Different expression, different creativity. Okay? Kasi yung direct copying, especially sa mga images, ay hindi po talaga po pwede unless it is government property and you obtained a permission from the author or the creator of the work that you want to copy or the want to use. So, kung meron po mga question, open po tayo for discussion after this presentation if the facilitator will allow us. So, maraming salamat po sa pakikinig. Thank you and good morning to everyone.